Have you ever stopped to think about what the very first blueprint for civilization actually looked like? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're diving into humanity's first, most ambitious attempts to build society from scratch. And as you'll see, they took some wildly different paths.
It seems like a simple question, right? What does it take to build a city? You think, okay, you need some buildings, you need roads, you need people. But what does it take to build the first city? I mean, what happens when you go from a world with no cities at all to suddenly cramming tens of thousands of people into one spot?
The answer is, it changes everything. It completely rewrites the rules of being human. See, this shift wasn't just some small upgrade. It was a total reinvention of community, a radical, brand new experiment in how we live together. To really get a handle on this revolution, we've got to go back to that moment we stopped wandering and started putting down roots. This is the story of that incredible leap from a life of hunting and gathering to the settled world of farming. And just look at the contrast here. It is night and day. Before cities, your whole world was your family unit. You moved around, you produced just enough to get by, and big decisions were made together. But then agriculture comes along and just flips the whole script. Suddenly, you've got a surplus of food, which means not everyone has to be a farmer anymore. You get artisans, priests, soldiers, all these new specialized jobs. And of course, to manage all this new complexity, you get a new kind of leadership, hierarchical government. So here's the crucial idea that spins out of all this. That surplus and specialization, it leads directly to something called social stratification. For the very first time in human history, you've got major differences in wealth and power. Some families start to accumulate more stuff, they pass it down, and boom, you have distinct social classes. This idea is going to be absolutely central to every single civilization we look at. And that brings us right to our first case study, Mesopotamia. If building a civilization is like drawing up a blueprint, then this was humanity's very first draft. A bold, messy, and often chaotic attempt, written in the dirt between two rivers. And you cannot understand Mesopotamia without understanding its environment. Because unlike some other places, life here was defined by the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which flooded violently and with absolutely no warning. This constant threat of chaos, of your whole world being washed away, it shapes their entire way of looking at life. And this quote, wow, this just says it all. This is from the Epic of Gilgamesh, and it's not just talking about a big flood. It's describing a world where destruction is so total, so terrifying, that even the gods who unleashed it are scared. It's a universe run by forces that are not only powerful, but also unpredictable and, frankly, kind of panicky. So why all the pessimism? Why so much doom and gloom? Well, it flows right from their environment. I mean, when your world can be literally washed away at any moment, you're probably gonna believe that the gods are moody and easily ticked off. And this belief bled into everything, especially their view of what happens after you die. But here's the amazing part. Out of this incredibly harsh reality came unbelievable innovation. To try and manage their chaotic world, they invented cuneiform, the first ever system of writing. To control it, Sargon of Akkad built the very first empire. To bring order, Hammurabi created the first great law code. But all of this progress was always living in the shadow of those angry gods and a pretty bleak view of the afterlife as a miserable underworld, a land of no return. And right here, this is social stratification carved in stone. Hammurabi's code makes it crystal clear. The punishment you receive depends entirely on who you are. If you hit a nobleman, you're getting 60 lashes. But if you injure a slave, you just pay a fine. Justice wasn't blinded at all. It was looking very closely at the social ladder. And for them, this rigid structure was probably seen as the only way to keep order among thousands of people. Okay, now let's do a complete 180 and travel over to Egypt, where we see a totally different picture. If Mesopotamia's blueprint was all about managing chaos, Egypt's was a masterpiece of order and stability. And it was all thanks to one thing, the Nile River. This comparison really tells you everything you need to know. For Mesopotamia, the flood is a terrifying weapon used by angry gods. For Egypt, the flood is a party. It's a joyful, life-giving gift from the gods that makes everything green and prosperous. This completely opposite relationship with their main river created two profoundly different civilizations. So, from the predictable, gentle annual rhythm of the Nile's flood, the Egyptians developed their most important concept, ma'at.
Now, Ma'at wasn't just a goddess, it was the fundamental principle of the universe, of order, truth, justice, and balance. The entire purpose of society, from the pharaoh on down to the farmer, was to uphold Ma'at and keep the cosmos in perfect harmony.
And this belief in an orderly universe went all the way to their incredibly complex idea of the afterlife. See, they believed your soul was made up of different parts. You had your ka, kind of like a spiritual twin, and your ba, which could fly around. And for these parts to survive, they needed your physical body to come back to. This is exactly why mummification and building these massive tombs was so important. It was all about maintaining order, even after death. Okay, just think about this number for a second. 2.3 million. That's how many giant stone blocks they used to build just one pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Each one weighing about as much as an SUV. This is just a staggering display of the power of a state that is completely organized around that single principle of cosmic order. This wasn't just a grave, it was a national project, proof of the pharaoh's power to maintain balance in the universe.
All right, now we're going to journey east to a civilization that was around at the same time as Egypt and Mesopotamia. It was just as big, just as grand, but it's almost completely shrouded in mystery. Welcome to the Indus Valley, a lost world, a forgotten chapter in our story.
And this is the great puzzle of the Indus Valley. I mean, let me ask you, what do you do when you find the ruins of these enormous, brilliantly planned cities, but you can't decipher a single word of their writing? We can see what they built in incredible detail, but we have no idea what they thought. It's like watching a movie with the sound off. And what they built was just astonishing. The cities of Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa show a level of urban planning that was, in some ways, even better than their more famous neighbors. We're talking about fortified citadels, huge granaries for food storage, and, get this, sophisticated citywide sewer systems with indoor plumbing and toilets in multi-story homes. These were cities built for comfort and public health on a scale that was light years ahead of its time. So if they were so advanced, where did they go? Why did it all just end? Well, without their own written records, all we have are theories. Maybe the climate changed and the river they depended on moved course. Maybe the monsoons shifted, or maybe they wrecked their own environment. It could have been disease or even an invasion. It's basically a 4,000-year-old cold case with a lot of clues, but no smoking gun. So after taking a tour through these three incredible, distinct worlds, what have we really learned about our first blueprints for civilization? I think the most important thing to take away is this. There was no single perfect way to build a society. Mesopotamia built a system to manage chaos. Egypt built one to celebrate order. The Indus Valley built one based on meticulous, practical planning. Each one was a unique experiment, a different answer to the same basic question. How on earth can tens of thousands of us live together in one place?
These people were the original architects of the world we live in. Their foundational ideas, law, government, writing, religion, are still with us today, thousands of years later. And it leaves us with one last big question to think about. What kind of blueprint are we creating right now? Are we building on principles of order and stability like the Egyptians? Or are we just trying to manage chaos like the Mesopotamians? What will our blueprint say about us to the people of the future?